On this vote, the yeas are 214 and the nays are 213. The resolution is adopted.
That's official. The House has voted to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. That historic vote wrapping up just moments ago with 214 yeas to 213 nays. I'm Gadi Schwartz. This is Stay Tuned Now. If at first you don't succeed, try again. That's what House Republicans seem to have done tonight as they successfully voted to impeach Secretary Mayorkas after failing to do so last week, all because they claim he actively refused to enforce the country's border laws. Now, Mayorkas is the first cabinet secretary to be impeached in nearly 150 years. Republicans were more optimistic this time around with House Majority Leader Stephen Scalise back in Washington. You might remember he missed last week's vote while undergoing cancer treatment, and his vote seems to have been enough to tip the scales in Republicans' favor by a single vote. President Biden blasting House Republicans in a statement, accusing them of playing petty political games and calling on Congress to give him and DHS the tools and resources needed to address the situation at the border. Now, Mayorkas had missed being impeached by just one vote last week after 3 Republicans joined every Democrat in the House against doing so. On Meet the Press Sunday, he defended his record at the border and pointed the finger at Congress.
It certainly is a crisis, and we don't bear responsibility for a broken system, and we're doing a tremendous amount within that broken system. But fundamentally, Congress is the only one who can fix it.
Now, even though House Republicans succeeded tonight, the move to impeach Mayorkas most likely won't make it past the Democratic-led Senate, who instead wants the House to focus on a $95 billion foreign aid package, which the Senate passed a couple of hours ago without any funding for the U.S. border. NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley joins us now. Julia, thanks so much for being with us. The last impeachment vote was very dramatic. It came down to the wire. One representative showing up like straight out of the hospital in a gown. Few Republicans turning against their own at the last minute. So what happened today? What were the unexpected twists?
Well, really, it was expected that Steve Scalise came back. They were able to build a coalition, but still only pushes over by one vote. If some Democrats who weren't present were able to come vote, this could have gone a different way. In fact, depending on another story you might get to tonight, what happens in New York with a special election to replace George Santos, if that person, if a Democrat is elected to take that seat, this vote could have gone another way if you held it in the future. Very, very close. But they impeached Secretary Mayorkas tonight on a breach of public trust and high crimes and misdemeanors. But, Gadi, we've got to say, a lot of former Homeland Security secretaries, a lot of Republicans, the Wall Street Journal editorial board saying that Secretary Mayorkas has done nothing of that sort, that this is all Republicans' way of trying to show, to really criticize Biden administration border policies, and they're just putting it all around one man.
What is the strongest case they have here? I mean, is it based on just the statistics and what we're seeing happening at the border? Or are they going to subpoena documents? Is this going to look at communications within the office? What do they have?
No, I mean, there are no smoking guns that they're going to pull out that they haven't already done. They did a series of hearings in the House Judiciary Committee, House Homeland Security Committee, and they didn't pull out anything, no new documents, no subpoenas. They did ask him to testify. He said he'd be available, but needed to work on a date. They moved forward without him testifying. Most of the people who came forward were all attorneys generals from a lot of states who said that their states had been affected by immigration. They also really honed in on whether or not Mayorkas thought that he had control of the border. They looked back at past testimony he had before the House where he said that, yes, they had control of the border, but then also said that no, under the definition and a statute, they'd never had operational control because that would mean no one's coming in. Really kind of piecing things apart here to try to show that he lied about the level of control they had over the border. But really, it all comes down to the way they were defining control. So it is definitely something, when I talk to people who are proponents of impeaching Mayorkas, they say, look, even if it goes nowhere, they just want an asterisk next to his name. And really, it's history. It's been 150 years since the cabinet secretary has been impeached. It goes all the way back to the Ulysses S. Grant administration, Gadi. And at that point, that was someone who blatantly took $20,000 in kickbacks. It was not what Secretary Mayorkas has done.
Yeah, speaking of U.S. history, I keep thinking back to like my U.S. history classes when we learned about impeachment. It was this super rare kind of hallowed check and balance thing, but it seems like we're moving towards this new era of seeing it drawn up and then thrown around without any real care on whether it's going to actually result in a Senate conviction. So I guess, is anybody in Congress talking about that right now?
Yeah, I think that was really what a lot of the criticism was about when you saw the Wall Street Journal editorial board come out against this. It's this idea that we're watering down the meanings of serious things like impeachment. And certainly the Senate's talking about it. And the Senate is where things have to go next. The House impeaches. The Senate would, if this were to go forward, hold a trial and convict him. But based on the fact that Democrats do hold a thin majority in the Senate and that so many in the Senate really just think that this was a dog and pony show to begin with, it's unlikely to really carry forward. And in fact, the House is really facing a lot of criticism over the fact that they've been incredibly vocal, Republicans in the House incredibly vocal about the border, but haven't put a lot of teeth behind it. This won't go anywhere. And of course, you know that they were blocking efforts to really do a dramatic overhaul of border security because they didn't think it goes far enough. So there's going to be some pressure on these Republicans to show, okay, what solutions would they put forward? And of course, you've heard about an audience of one tonight. The one person they know is watching is Donald Trump, who has said that he doesn't want a border security bill to go forward and that he wanted Mayorkas impeached. And some would look at this and say perhaps Republicans and perhaps Trump want more chaos at the border under Biden because it's politically advantageous for Republicans.
Julie Ainsley, thanks so much. Let's pull back a little bit and look at the context here. Checking on those latest numbers when it comes to border crossings. In December, about 250,000 people were arrested after crossing illegally. Then encounters dropped to about 120,000 last month. But it looks like in certain parts of the country, numbers are starting to climb back up. Now, last week, Border Patrol detained over 8,600 people within the San Diego sector. That is up 5,000 a week from the beginning of the month. NBC News correspondent David Noriega joins us now from the U.S.-Mexico border between San Diego and Tijuana. David, thanks so much for being with us. It looks like you're in one of those rare areas of the United States border where you've got these tall fences, several layers of tall fences, and then this kind of no man's land in between. What have you seen there today?
Yeah, Gadi, that's exactly right. Here, I'll actually show you. This fence that you see right here is what they call secondary fence. And then behind it, you have a couple hundred feet of empty space before you hit the fence that actually separates us here from Tijuana, from the Mexico side. Now, this space, which you very accurately described as a no man's land, is space that Border Patrol has been using as essentially sort of de facto open-air detention sites for groups of migrants, sometimes very large groups of migrants, where they hold them in this space, sometimes for hours at a time or even overnight before they take them to Border Patrol facilities for processing. We arrived here early this morning and found a group of some 60 or 70 migrants who'd been waiting here for many hours, and they really kind of were an illustration of the truly global nature of the migration that is now arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border. There were people from Colombia, Ecuador, Brazil, Jamaica, Peru. There were even a group of people from as far away as Mauritania in West Africa. I interviewed, I spoke to several of them about kind of what was driving them to come to the United States in the first place. I spoke specifically to one Colombian migrant, and before I play you a bit of this interview, it really kind of stuck out to me that we think of the migrants who come to the border often as being completely destitute, as having sort of nothing to their name. But this was a person who actually owned a small business in Colombia. He actually flew to Mexico from Colombia. The whole journey took him 4 days, whereas it often takes people months, right? And I asked him, what is it that motivated him to come? And now I'll play you a little bit of what he said. Take a listen. ¿Qué lo trajo para estas partes?
Problemas allá con la FARC.
Problemas de seguridad.
Eso, extorsión. Yo tengo una empresa allá.
¿Y lo está extorsionando las FARC? ¿Eso fue lo que...
Secuestraron también.
¿Lo secuestraron a usted?
Sí.
Ok, y le tocó irse entonces.
Sí.
So what he told me there, that he was fleeing very specific threats from armed groups, is something that I heard repeatedly from migrants today, particularly those from different parts of Latin America. They are facing a rapidly deteriorating security situation, are fleeing specific threats from organized criminal groups, and that's really what's driving them to come here to this line between the United States and Mexico. Gadi?
Fascinating. There is what's happening in Washington right now, which is confusing to say the least. And then there's what people are seeing on like WhatsApp channels and even, you know, Spanish TikTok south of the border by those that may be trying to cross. What are they being told is going on with immigration policy? And what are some of the things that they might see on some of those posts?
Yeah, Gadi, I asked several people that question today, several migrants. I said, you know, to what extent are you aware of all of the border politics happening here in the United States? The general answer was very little or only vaguely, but things do trickle down in interesting ways. I spoke to a group of Jamaican migrants, for example, who told me that in the last few weeks, while they were on the Tijuana side of the border, they were seeing rumors on TikTok of an impending border shutdown. Now, we can't know for sure. It's possible that that's kind of a garbled version of what was under discussion in the now defunct Senate bill. Either way, in some cases, it pushed these specific, individual migrants to make the decision to risk the crossing sooner than they would have otherwise, with the idea of kind of getting across before this supposed shutdown. I've spoken to a couple of experts who said that rumors like that had actually been circulating since before December. Some people attribute the huge spike in numbers that we saw in December at least partially to those rumors circulating, just like you said, on social media, particularly on WhatsApp and TikTok. One of the questions that's a little harder to answer is to what extent do these social media pieces of information or misinformation actually drive migration numbers or just shape the patterns that we see here on the border? I think the answer is probably a little bit of both, but that's something that I think definitely deserves some looking into. Gadi?
Absolutely. And we appreciate you looking into that for us. David Noriega, thanks so much. Meanwhile, thousands of migrants bust up to Chicago are on the verge of being kicked out of the city's temporary shelters there. Right now, there are about 13,000 asylum seekers in more than 24 Chicago shelters. And next month, more than 40% of them will be evicted. Now, Chicago budgeted $150 million for migrant care in fiscal year 2024, but the mayor says his city is already spending about $1.5 million every single day to deal with the crisis, and they don't have the budget to house the migrants indefinitely. NBC News correspondent Mara Barrett has been covering the story from Chicago, and she joins us now. Mara, those shelters, they're supposed to be this safety net to help migrants get on their feet, find work, maybe find a place to live. Do we know what percentage of migrants are actually getting work permits?
It's a lot lower than one would expect because the city had budgeted 60 days for every migrant that comes in seeking asylum to have temporary housing and then find work and be able to find permanent housing. And then that way it opens up those shelters for newcomers because there are hundreds of migrants still coming into the city every day. But the reality is only about 1,000 of those migrants have gotten work permits. State officials actually estimate that only 30% of the current shelter residents will be even it'll be an option for them to get work authorization or get that temporary protected status, which opens up the work eligibility. And now all of this process it used to take months. They've shortened that process to a little less than 30 days. But still, that leaves about 10,000 people who still have all of these questions about whether they're going to be able to find work, whether that means they're going to find housing. And unfortunately, there's only a small number of landlords or property managers that are willing to work with these migrants because of the renters' rights situation here in Chicago. It's very renter friendly. And so these landlords want to make sure that there's stable income and that there's stable employment so that they can pay their rent. There is some rental assistance available for migrants, but some of that has been cut off and it only lasts for a short period of time. And so these migrants are faced with the question of potentially being homeless when their timeline expires in these shelters.
Yeah, so speaking of those that may find themselves without a job at the end of this timeline, what happens? What happens come the middle of next month? Are we going to see mass evictions? How does this work?
Well, so the city has issued several extensions because, as we all know, the Chicago winter here is absolutely frigid and unbearable and unlivable for people to be on the streets. And so Chicago has issued those extensions. There's the potential that come mid-March, when this timeline would expire, that would happen again. But there's no guarantee, especially when the budget is so tight. And so migrants are very stressed because they don't know if they're going to be homeless, or if they'll return to the landing zone, which is the staging area that the city has set up for people who are coming in on the buses, and if they'll have to apply for a new shelter. We actually interviewed several migrants who've been looking for jobs out on the streets every day. I want you to meet Lisbeth Velasquez. She fled from Venezuela because of political persecution, she says, and now she's facing a whole new wave of stress. Here's some of our conversation.
Dice que tengo fecha de salida para el 1 de abril. ¿Qué va a pasar si yo de aquí al 1 de abril yo no consigo una vivienda? Estoy trabajando, no tengo recursos económicos para pagar una vivienda. Bien, y contrato de trabajo. Te piden estados de cuenta. Te piden unos requisitos que, o sea, actualmente yo no cuento con ninguno.
So the additional problem, the other factor, is if they don't have an address, or they're no longer at the address of the shelter that they've been at, that could then be a problem with their legal process when they're actually seeking asylum. Because if the government doesn't have an address on file for these migrants, they won't get their court dates, they won't get information about fingerprinting, everything that's necessary to get that asylum, which then often becomes an opportunity for people to get work. And so this is a huge question. A lot of migrants, a lot of people in the city totally stressed about, Gadi.
Complications at every turn. Maura Barrett, thank you so much. Meanwhile, the grandmother of a Texas boy who was critically hurt in that shooting at a Houston megachurch says their family spent years trying to get help for the child's mother.
There were red flags for 6 years, and we raised them and we flew them high, and nothing was done.
Police say the 36-year-old shooter opened fire before a Spanish-language service at the Lakewood Church in Houston on Sunday afternoon. She was shot and killed by off-duty officers. The 7-year-old boy, the shooter's son, was shot in the head. A 57-year-old man was also hurt. Also today, neighbors and new court documents are shedding light into what may have led to that shooting, and NBC's Morgan Chesky has more.
Hey, Gadi, good evening. Yeah, 48 hours after this shooting took place, a really disturbing picture is being painted by authorities of not only the woman they say pulled the trigger, but also some red flags that were raised by multiple people in not just the months, but the years leading up to this. We do know, of course, that Moreno, the shooter here, has a criminal record that dates back as far as 2005. Some of those charges including unlawful possession of a firearm. But we've also heard from neighbors who lived very close to that Conroe home, about 30 minutes away from where we are, that described her presence there as a chaotic, toxic one that left many of them feeling on edge, so much so that one of the neighbors who didn't want to go on camera said that they even filed a restraining order against her last fall. Now, in addition to that, we're also hearing today from a woman who says that has been identified, rather, as the former mother-in-law of the shooter, of Moreno, who flew in from Mexico following this tragedy and said that her former daughter-in-law suffered from a form of schizophrenia and at various points over the last several years made death threats, both against her own family, herself, even her young 7-year-old boy, who, as of last check, remains in critical condition. So that is just some of the issues there. One of the big questions here, Gadi, is why was she able to obtain and or use a firearm here, that AR-15 that was recovered from the scene with the word Palestine written on it? I had a chance to speak to a former ATF agent today, and he says that because there's no significant red flag law here in Texas, even if there had been, it would have been a significant task for a family member or a friend to begin the process that would then prove Moreno was a risk to themselves or to others, that could then trigger the state to take away a right to have a firearm. He says that in any case, due process is still a constitutional right. And even though there are multiple examples here from family members, from neighbors, of Moreno threatening to hurt them or herself, there wasn't enough done. There was little that could have been done to make sure that that firearm was not in her hands. As it stands right now, authorities say that this does remain an active investigation. They are not releasing an official motive, but critical to note here that they are not yet ruling out a hate crime or even terrorism as a motivating cause tonight here in Houston. Gadi.
Morgan Chesky, thanks so much. We're following some breaking news in Austin, Texas, where a car has been driven into a medical center. They're hurting at least 10 people that we know of. That's some of the images that are coming in right now. Local reports say one person was killed. NBC News has not been able to independently confirm that just yet, but this is happening at St. David's North Austin Medical Center. And right now, officials say the crash does not appear to be intentional. A hazmat team has also been called out to that scene. And of course, we are going to monitor this situation and bring you updates as we get them. And don't go anywhere. We are just getting started. Up next, flight attendants are on strike at 30 airports. We're going to tell you why and how it's affecting travel. Plus, if you're planning that hot date for Valentine's Day tomorrow night, there's maybe a hitch to be prepared for. Some Uber and Lyft drivers are walking off the job tomorrow across the country, so figure out who's going to drive ahead of time. And an incredible discovery using sonar. 40 years after the disappearance of 3 men, they are found. We're going to explain in tonight's Cold Case. Hey, welcome back. And here are some of the stories we're following out here in the West. 2 Utah National Guard pilots were hurt after their helicopter crash landed during a training exercise on Monday. Now, officials say the pilots were training for landings at a local airport, and because of the type of training they were doing, the helicopter wasn't too high up in the air before impact. Both pilots were taken to a hospital nearby and are in stable condition, and an investigation into the cause of the crash is already underway. And police have recovered the body of a 22-year-old woman who went missing for more than a week while hiking alone near Mount Baldy. Her body was spotted over the weekend by a person flying a drone, and search efforts were slowed because of the conditions on the mountain. That woman went hiking just as an atmospheric river storm was about to hit, bringing high levels of snow to that entire area. And a fistfight broke out midair on a Southwest plane bound from Oakland to Kauai, Hawaii. The whole flight was caught on camera. 2 guys are seen throwing haymakers at each other as the crew members and passengers try to calm them down there. It is unclear why they were fighting, but both men were detained after that flight landed. And flight attendants across the country hit the picket line today, calling for better pay and new contracts. They are calling it a worldwide day of action. 100,000 flight attendants involved, protesting outside of places at 30 airports, including LAX and Los Angeles. And that's impacted carriers like American Airlines, United Southwest, and Alaska Air, to name a few. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz joins us now. Liz, we've seen pilots already getting some raises. So what are the specifics in this demand?
Yeah, so like we often see here, Gadi, they're asking for higher pay and better wages here. And some of the signs that these flight attendants were holding show their cause and what they're asking for. Some of them said, Alaska makes money, we can't make rent. Show us you care, pay us our share, and corporate greed doesn't fly. In fact, here's what one United Airlines flight attendant had to say today about what they're asking for.
Some of these airlines have not had a new contract in over 5 years. As we all know, prices are up and our wages are not competing with that. The companies are making hand over fist and we just want our piece of the pie.
And I heard from one representative for American Airlines who said that they're asking for 33% raise. They say that's in comparison to, as you mentioned, Gadi, pilots who got a 35 to 50% wage increase recently. These flight attendants also point out that a lot of the workers have to be in areas where these airlines have hubs that are often these major cities, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, that are very high-priced, expensive cities. And they were saying that some flight attendants are making just $27,000 a year. So they're saying they really need their wages to increase to keep up with inflation and other costs.
And a lot of times when people hear strike or when they see people with signs and protesting, they're like, oh, well, this means a stop of work. This is almost the flex before something more drastic comes, right? Is that about?
Yeah, exactly. And
accurate?
You're going to see this today probably and be like, oh my gosh, is this impacting my flight? Because you do see a lot of people out demonstrating today. No, so no travel was impacted, and that's because it wasn't officially a strike in the terms of it being a work stoppage. These were people out demonstrating and protesting today, but they were flight attendants who were off duty. So travel wasn't impacted, but they are really sending a message saying that this is the first step. Perhaps we will strike down the line. It does sound like it's a pretty complicated process and a complex labor process for airline workers to actually strike. So we'll see if it actually happens and comes to that. But they're clearly sending a message that they're united on this front.
Possibly some signs of what could be to come.
Exactly.
Liz Kreutz, thanks so much for joining us. And if your grand gesture of love this Valentine's Day involves getting an Uber to take you to dinner, you might want to come up with a backup plan, because tomorrow, thousands of drivers for Uber, for Lyft, for DoorDash are headed to the picket line. The Justice for App Workers Coalition represents about 130,000 drivers and delivery workers. They are asking drivers not to provide rides to and from airports nationwide, and they're also holding rallies at airports in 10 U.S. cities. For more, let's bring in NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa from Chicago. Maggie?
Hey, Gadi. So organizers say the message here is very simple, that going into this Valentine's Day, rideshare and food delivery drivers just frankly are not feeling the love, and they are organizing what they say is going to be the largest strike against the industry's major players ever. And those players include Uber, Lyft, and of course, DoorDash. So this is being organized by a group called Justice for App Workers. They say they represent close to 130,000 drivers, again, for rideshare companies, food delivery companies across the U.S. And they have rallies, they add, planned at 10 major airports across the country tomorrow. That includes Miami, Philadelphia, Newark, and O'Hare here in Chicago. The drivers say they're demanding things that probably wouldn't shock anyone, things like higher pay and better safety standards, pointing out we've all seen the headlines about increased carjackings and attacks on drivers. We, of course, have reached out to all three companies that I just named. Uber didn't send us a statement per se, but they did release a bunch of information to kind of help, they believe, put this in context, saying that in the last quarter of 2023, drivers made on average $33 per what they call utilized hour. In other words, every hour that they're driving and actually taking rides. And they add they're committed to the safety of their drivers. We've also got a statement from Lyft that really caught our eyes, saying we are constantly working to improve the driver experience, which is why just this month we released a series of new offers, and they add now drivers will always make at least 70% of the weekly rider fares after external fees. And basically, this was an industry first. They just released this. They said basically once you subtract what they call external fees, things like drivers having to pay for their gas, having to pay for parking, tolls, those kinds of things, they understand that that cuts away at the take-home pay drivers get. So they say if that number then falls below 70% of the fare, Lyft will make up the difference and make sure those drivers get that 70%. So that was their statement. And then finally, DoorDash also sent one that really caught our eye. You can read this quote. The group does not speak for, and they're talking about Justice for App Workers, or represent the overwhelming majority of Dashers who earn on their own terms. They add they're always listening to Dashers, listening to their drivers. Again, we heard that sentiment from all three companies, but again, Justice for App Workers says drivers are completely fed up, and they are promising tomorrow the largest strike in this industry's history, just in time for Valentine's Day. Gadi?
Thanks so much. And coming up, 40 years ago, 3 men in North Carolina disappeared, but now new technology is finally giving their family answers. We've got those details. But first, you got to see this. Researchers have discovered the remains of this 244-foot ship in Lake Superior off the coast of Michigan. Now, the boat, called the SS Arlington, goes all the way back to 1940. It was found in over 600 feet of water, but that didn't stop crews from getting some cool underwater footage of that wreckage. The World War II-era vessel was carrying wheat to a port in Ontario, but it sank during a storm, and everybody except the captain were rescued. The captain went down with that ship. It's an incredible discovery. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back, and here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. An accused cop killer who has been on the run in Tennessee has been caught today after more than 100 officers were searching for Kenneth Wade DeHart Jr. since last week. They say he killed a deputy and hurt another man. DeHart faces first-degree murder charges. The polls are about to close in the special election to fill the seat of disgraced former Congressman George Santos. Both candidates, Republican Mazi Pilip and Democrat Tom Suozzi, have been trying to get the voter turnout strong after that area snowstorm, and they were even offering voters free rides to the polls. A private plane made an emergency landing after one of the doors fell off. Now, this happened yesterday in Buffalo after the pilot noticed one of the rear doors had just disappeared in mid-flight. It's not really clear where that door went, so if you find it, call police. And turns out inflation was higher than expected in January. In this new report from the Labor Department out today, inflation rose more than 3% from last year, though it was down a little bit from December, leaving prices for some goods basically at the same place that they were last year. And Paramount is laying off around 800 of its workers one day after announcing the company had record-breaking Super Bowl ratings, producing the highest watched television show ever. The cuts are estimated to 3% of Paramount's workforce. And millions out in the Northeast are digging themselves out tonight after a major winter storm dumped more than a foot of snow in some areas from Pennsylvania to New England. Now, Pennsylvania got hit pretty hard. That's where more than 140,000 people lost power and where police reported over 1,200 crashes. In one town of Philadelphia, just west of Philadelphia, in fact, a 20-year-old man died after crashing into a downed power pole while riding a snowmobile. And a little farther north, the storm wound up being the most snow New York City has seen in 2 years. 1 of 2 inches of snow fell an hour, according to the National Weather Service. And it wasn't all snow. The storm also brought rain, high winds, especially along the eastern seaboard. The waves were so rough in Massachusetts, they crashed over a seawall right into a reporter out there with our NBC affiliate.
Yeah, definitely getting some good waves and a lot of splash over today. This is high tide, so this is the time they are very worried and concerned.
He called it a lot of splash over. All this winter weather making it hard to get around today, including at airports where more than 1,500 flights have been canceled, all while kids in states like Boston, Connecticut, and New Jersey were lucky enough to get that snow day. But New York City chose to bring back remote learning. But there was a slight hiccup this morning due to some technical issues out there. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin has more.
Hey there, Gadi. Well, the storm was short and sharp here in New York City. It was over in a matter of hours. Still, it was more snow than the city has seen in quite some time. For the first time in 2 years deploying snow plows, city officials had prepared for the worst, going so far as to declare that all New York City public schools would be operating remotely today. That applying to more than 1 million students, some 1,600 schools. The problem being when everyone went to log on this morning, the system was overwhelmed and many students, hundreds of thousands of them, were unable to log into that remote system. Much of the frustration of district officials, they had really been relying on this system. They did not want these kids to have a snow day today. The mayor himself saying he did not want children out making snowmen. He wanted them learning remotely to prevent any further learning loss that so many kids here in New York suffered during the pandemic. And a lot of parents today very frustrated. Take a listen.
I think that the public schools should have had a just regular snow day because, you know, we get so few of them and, you know, it's sort of a rite of passage to have a snow day.
I think it works. You know, there's much more flexibility now. Everyone understands the concept of a snow day and working from home, so school from home is just an extension.
The remote system did come online later in the day, and while state officials tell me that this wasn't as bad as what they were expecting, for example, the city only saw some 3 to 6 inches of snow. They had been worried they were going to see 6 to 8. Other places in the Northeast hit pretty hard. Consider Pennsylvania, more than 130,000 households there without power today. 1,200 either vehicle crashes or vehicles stuck in the snow, and at least 1 fatality in Pennsylvania, that according to state officials. A man was killed in a snowmobile accident. So while this storm was relatively mild, comparatively mild here in New York, it certainly was not the case for other parts of the country. And now, as you can see behind me, Central Park is a winter wonderland. Folks here in New York are out enjoying what is now a very sunny evening in New York City. Gadi?
Winter wonderland. And I don't know. I still think that building a snowman is an important life skill. Who knows? Tonight on Cold Case Files, a decades-long mystery from North Carolina may finally be closed. 3 men vanished in 1982, and they left their families and their community with nothing but questions. But now, after 40 years, thanks to some sonar technology and the relentless pursuit of one determined investigator, a new discovery is bringing some long-awaited answers. The rusty axle of a 1970s-era Camaro is the first clue to this cold case mystery being pulled from a North Carolina creek over the weekend.
They've been waiting for this for 41 years.
It's been 4 decades of heartache and unanswered questions for the families of Bill Clifton, David McMickens, and Michael Norman. But the wait is finally over, replaced by bittersweet closure. Police think DNA testing will match human remains discovered inside the Camaro to the 3 men who disappeared in 1982, seemingly without a trace. The break in the case coming thanks to a sonar-equipped one-man search team able to scan previously unsearched areas.
I feel like it's giving them some closure.
Closure and case closed thanks to some good old-fashioned curiosity, determination, and ingenuity. And still to come, an emergency landing by a small plane in Mexico ended up killing a man who was on the beach. That story and more are straight ahead when we check headlines around the world. So stay tuned. Hey there, welcome back, and let's take a quick look around the world. It's already Wednesday in Indonesia, where some 200 million people are heading to the polls to elect a new president. It's a vote that could lead the world's 3rd largest democracy to become an economic power just 2 decades after coming out of a brutal authoritative regime. Negotiations continue in Cairo to bring the war between Israel and Hamas to at least a temporary standstill. But representatives from Israel, Hamas, the U.S., Qatar, and Egypt have so far failed to reach an agreement to do so. U.S. officials say the main sticking point tends to be how many Palestinian prisoners Israel will release in exchange for hostages. And a plane carrying 4 Canadian skydivers crash-landed on a beach in Oaxaca, Mexico on Sunday, killing a man who was on the beach at the time. Now, police say the man's wife, who was with him, was not hurt. Everyone on board that plane also survived, but they were taken to a hospital for treatment. The cause of the crash is still being investigated. Do you remember that devastating fire that ravaged the Notre Dame Cathedral back in 2019? Well, today, 70,000 pieces of scaffolding around that top of the cathedral there, well, they've finally been removed, revealing that new spire for the first time. It's a milestone marker for the cathedral's reconstruction and has Paris residents hopeful for its reopening, scheduled for December 8th. And as we just briefly touched on, the CIA director and the Mossad chief are in Cairo today to discuss a potential new hostage deal and a 6-week ceasefire in Gaza as the war crosses its 5-month mark. Now, families of hostages and people in Gaza are growing so desperate for some sort of resolution. But after rejecting Hamas's last proposal, one Israeli official telling NBC News they are not optimistic for a better deal this time around. Meanwhile, violence is growing in the West Bank. Today, a 17-year-old Palestinian American was killed there. The boy's father says it happened as his son was coming back from a picnic with friends. That's when Israeli forces shot him. This is the 2nd time in the last month that a Palestinian American teenager has been fatally shot in the West Bank. NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez has more.
The State Department says it is seeking answers about the death of a U.S. citizen in the occupied West Bank. Mohammed Hadour was 17 years old. His family based in Miami, Florida, but he was attending high school in the West Bank just outside of Jerusalem. His family says on Saturday he was attending a picnic with friends when he was shot by Israeli forces who opened fire on the car that he was traveling in. His family says he was struck fatally in the head by one of those bullets. We asked the Israeli military about this shooting. They referred us to the Shin Bet, Israel's domestic security agency. We have not yet had an answer from them. But this is the 2nd young Palestinian American killed in the West Bank so far just this year. Tawfiq Abdul-Jabbar was killed back in January. He was born and raised in Louisiana. And while all eyes, understandably, are on Gaza, more than 300 Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank since October 7th, most of them in confrontations with Israeli forces, but at least a handful killed by armed Israeli settlers. That's according to the United Nations. There is rarely prosecutions of Israeli settlers who commit acts of violence against Palestinians in the West Bank. Now, this all comes as CIA Director Bill Burns meeting in Cairo with counterparts from Qatar, Egypt, and Israel, trying to get those negotiations on the hostages back on track. Burns was in Paris 2 weeks ago, where he hammered out a broad framework of a deal. But Hamas's response to that framework, according to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, was delusional. So the two sides remaining very far apart. We spoke to the father of Itai Hen, one of those 6 American hostages still being held in Gaza today. He told us time is running out and those officials need to stay around the negotiating table in Cairo until they reach an agreement. Back to you.
NBC's Raf Sanchez, thanks so much. And today, the Senate passed a massive military aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan to the tune of a little over $95 billion. That package is on the way to the House for approval, where a lot of hardliner Republicans are criticizing the need to send more money to Ukraine. President Biden is saying that kind of doubt will only play into Putin's hand. And NBC News senior foreign correspondent Richard Engel is on the ground in Ukraine with more.
I returned today to the city of Kherson, near the front line in southern Ukraine. It was largely empty. Russian troops just a few hundred yards away now attack with artillery and drones about 30 times every day. It wasn't always this dire. 2 years ago, when Russian troops invaded Ukraine, they quickly occupied Kherson until Ukrainian troops found their feet and liberated the city. It turned out to be Ukraine's last major victory. The counteroffensive fizzled. Russia still holds about 20% of Ukraine's territory and now has the advantage of momentum. Vlad Nedostop works with Ukraine's civilian defense here.
They're firing a lot.
All the time.
If you don't get more ammunition, are you going to lose this war?
Yes.
Down here in the basement, they've organized a small show for the kids underground.
Under a theater, volunteers dressed like angels play Pass the Hat. If the music stops and you have the hat, you have to get on stage and do a crazy dance. Ava Dubovia is 11 years old.
What's it like to live like that? To live here with that weight, that burden?
Every day could be your last because bombs are falling close by and you have to run to a shelter. This is our life, our reality, and it's a nightmare, she says. And this is the only safe place in the city where children can play.
President Zelensky tonight called on Congress to approve more aid, saying the world is waiting for American leadership.
Richard Engel, stay safe out there. Thank you so much for that report. Before we go, it is time for the future of everything. Cars behaving badly, but no driver at the wheel. Now lawmakers are taking action to hold some of these autonomous vehicle companies accountable. And that's coming up next, so stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. And time now for the future of everything tonight. Multi-millionaire tech CEO Sam Altman is looking to raise some money, a mere $7 trillion to be exact. We're going to tell you why in just a second. But first to California, where a group of people set a Waymo driverless car on fire over the weekend. That empty car went up in flames during Lunar New Year celebrations in San Francisco. A video shows the group smashing the passenger window. Then someone threw a firework in the car, causing that huge fire. Authorities are still trying to find those involved. And that's just the latest example of tension between San Francisco residents and driverless car companies. The vehicles are causing some concerns there, and now they may be forced to follow a new set of laws. NBC News investigated and exposed a lack of penalties where driverless cars violate the rules of the road. NBC News Bay Area reporter Big Ad Shaban has more on the safety concerns that are now just being made public.
Close call in the crosswalk as these adults in San Francisco rush 2 kids out of the way to avoid being hit, and then do a double take as they watch the car cruise by with no driver. This so-called robo-taxi is operated by Cruise, the embattled driverless car company largely owned by General Motors, that's now the subject of at least 5 separate government probes. And just one day after that near miss last summer, 7-year-old Luke says the same thing happened to him and his parents across town.
I started to go a little faster.
Because it was heading towards you?
Yeah, and then it swerved this way.
Did you worry it was going to hit you?
Yeah, if I didn't run, it would have hit me probably.
So this is where you crossed that day?
Exactly. Sasha Retayo is Luke's dad.
You thought it was safe to cross here because you saw the Cruise car stop at the stop sign.
Fully stopped. And then it started when we had gotten maybe a third of the way or halfway across the intersection, and it started to accelerate.
Transportation documents we obtained show the California DMV is now investigating. But Cruise, which pulled its entire fleet off the road last fall amid safety concerns, says its records show none of its driverless cars traveled through that specific intersection around the time the family says they were almost hit. Cruise adding, "We are committed to operating with safety and transparency and continue to investigate this incident." Sasha says there's no mistaking the logo he saw.
And I was just angry, super angry, that my kid could have been hurt or killed by this Cruise vehicle.
Critics argue driverless cars lack oversight. Late last year, we reported on a loophole that's been allowing some of the nation's driverless cars to avoid penalties when they break the rules of the road.
Here in California, we discovered traffic tickets have to be issued to an actual person. So driverless cars have pretty much been immune to those fines.
It's really been a very glaring hole in the law.
California Assemblyman Phil Ting wants companies held liable and traffic tickets sent to them. So he's pushing for a new state law following our investigation.
Really appreciate that story for coming out and highlighting, frankly, the need for the legislation that I'm introducing.
The Autonomous Vehicle Industry Association says it's open to change. Jeff Farah is the group's CEO.
If there is clarification that needs to be made in California, we are committed to sitting down and working that through with the appropriate policymakers.
But even if the bill gets the green light, driverless cars will likely be able to continue steering clear of those traffic fines until the new law goes into effect next year. Bigatchaban, NBC News, San Francisco.
As the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman has already revolutionized artificial intelligence. But you know what AI needs more than anything? It needs computer chips, and not just any computer chips, but ones that humans cannot crank out fast enough. And there's semiconductors that are those tiny little chips that help power everything from your iPhone to your refrigerator. But revamping the advanced chip industry does not come cheap. Altman is asking for a staggering $7 trillion to reach his wildly ambitious goal. That's 12 zeros after that 7. To put that in perspective, that's $1 trillion more than the combined market cap of both Microsoft and Apple, the 2 highest valued businesses in the U.S. That's also like 1/4 of the entire U.S. GDP. Let's bring in our co-anchor of Tech Check on CNBC, one of my favorite shows, Deirdre Bosa, for more. Deirdre, thank you so much for joining us. This is AI's golden boy asking for a cool $7 trillion. I know he's got tech friends in high places, but how do you even come up with this $7 trillion number? It seems like he just asked his friend ChatGPT, how much is it going to cost to revolutionize everything? And it said $7 trillion, and he's like, okay, $7 trillion.
Yeah, they just came up with the biggest number that he could think of, right? Let me do one more comparison because I love this game. $7 trillion is 7 times the size of the expected chip industry in 2030. So it is clearly just a huge amount. And the best way to describe this is it's the moonshot of all moonshots. And let me use Google's definition of what a moonshot is. It is something that sounds undoable, but if done, will change humanity. That is the task that Sam Altman wants to achieve, and it requires just enormous global coordination from investors, and we can get into who even has that kind of money, to existing chip manufacturers, to governments, to power suppliers, because it takes an enormous amount of compute power to pull something like this off. But essentially, he wants to just remake the global chip industry, which is no small task. This is one of the most expensive and complicated industries in the world.
Yeah, it might work if everybody on Earth got along and we didn't have geopolitics in the place that it is right now. But so many of today's advanced chips come from Taiwan. We've seen the problems with that. We're seeing movement and trying to manufacture more of them, maybe this shop in Arizona. But the question is, when you're talking about $7 trillion, is this something else entirely? Are future AI chips the same ones that we're seeing manufactured now? Or are we talking about like a chip revolution in the vein of like quantum chips or something that we don't see on an everyday basis?
The short answer is yes. This requires so much technological advancement for something that already is so hard that just a very small handful of global players are able to pull off. And the chip industry is sort of littered with companies that have had to bow out at certain points because it's also a very cyclical business. And even one of our chip giants, Intel, was left behind for a while, and now it's trying to catch up. So you're right. You know, one of the chip makers that is able to achieve these high-end chips that are needed for the AI revolution is TSMC, and they're located in China. And that brings up a lot of the national security concerns in the chip making industry, right? We know that the Biden administration is trying to bring that manufacturing home. But if you're looking at a project at the scale of $7 trillion, you're not going to be able to do that in just one place, nor are you going to be able to fund it. You just ran through a list of how big $7 trillion is. Well, who has that kind of money? I'll tell you, it's not American venture capital firms, even American mega caps. And you think about Microsoft putting $13 billion into OpenAI, the company that Sam Altman runs. That is a drop in the bucket when we're talking $7 trillion. You're going to have to go tap sovereign wealth funds, many of which are in the Middle East. And do you really want to reshape the global chip industry and put the power in the hands of, maybe it's not Asia, but the Middle East? That raises a whole new set of concerns.
Last question here. Moonshot, you think it's possible? Yes or no?
No. I have to say no, because it's just such a wild ambition. But then again, I mean, let me point to some of the most incredible people in technology and the Edison of our times, right? Who would have thought that Elon Musk was able to get rockets out in space or completely reshape the global auto industry? So sitting here in San Francisco for the last 8 years, I've had a front row seat to some of the wildest ideas. Some of them have not turned out, and some of them have, and you've got to be crazy to be able to pull off something like this. No, I don't think it's possible, but if we even get part of the way there, would that be revolutionary? Would that change the whole chip-making industry? Maybe, and that's a worthy goal.
Deirdre, it sounds like you like being wrong on your predictions as much as I do. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, anytime.
And that does it for us tonight. I'm Gadi Schwartz. We'll see you tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.